Buongiorno, we're at Voxxed Ticino. I'm here with Robert from Google, who's talking about app UX. So what's your talk about today?
Primarily I talk about our programming model that we donated to the Apache Foundation, which allows you to create data pipelines for batch and stream processing. So that was initially created within Google as so-called Dataflow, and we donated our Dataflow SDK to Apache Beam, and it became a top-level project in the beginning of this year.
Cool. So when you say batch and stream processing, what do you mean?
So if you look at big data processing, like a little bit at the history, it all started with MapReduce. So the data amounts became so big that a single machine couldn't process anymore in a reasonable time. So some smart Google engineers, Jeff Dean and Samagot, they came up with a model how to distribute and chop off the data and basically parallelize the processing, and also create a framework to have that resilient in a way that if any machine fails, that another machine takes over that work. So that started MapReduce. The issue with MapReduce is that you basically take a batch of data, and you have to wait till you have that batch of data and you process it, and then you get a result. So you have a delay to the point that you get insights of that data. Now, if you compare that through stream processing, what you want is you get a stream of data like events from mobile devices, or if you look at IoT, for instance, like sensor data and things like that. And if you want to get insights of that data in near real time, you basically have to process that stream of data continuously. And that's a different way of programming. And if you look at like how that was solved in recent years, was that on the one hand, you wanted to have correct results where you use batch processing, and then you wanted to have insights like estimates of your real-time stream, and you used stream processing like Storm or Apache Flink, for instance. But it's two different programming models, so you had to learn two different systems. On one, you use Spark for batch processing, and you use maybe Flink or Storm for stream processing. What Apache Beam tries to achieve is to combine these two tasks of batch processing and stream processing, so getting correct results in one program model. And we have done that at Google for many, many years. We donated that to the Apache Foundation. And today I'm going to talk about what does it need, like what kind of semantics does it need to be able to do stream and batch processing in one programming model.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that sounds interesting. So when you're using it in an app, what are you typically trying to analyze at the stream level compared to batch processing? What's an example of a use case?
So, for instance, what you could analyze in an app is if you realize that a user doesn't know like where to go in an app, you see like a delay between user interactions in your mobile app. You might be able to guide him to something. You might be basically highlighting areas where you think this user should go. So you basically analyze what most of the users do, how they use your app. And if you analyze the stream from a particular user, you could see like, okay, this user seems to be stuck in my application. Maybe I have to highlight certain areas to give him guidance where to go.
Oh, okay. So how do you, I suppose, I'm just guessing here, the biggest challenge then is things like, how do you get the data out that is relevant? Like, how do you categorize your users? How can you tell if a user is a first-time user versus an advanced user? Where do you start with something like that?
Yeah, so usually, like if you look at these things, so you have, for instance, sign-up data in a database, and you can take this data and read this data into your streaming pipeline. So you have this basically as an side input. And then once your event data comes in, you check basically against that data that you have in a database and see like, okay, what state is that user, and have I shown him that already, or like things like that.
And what do you find the biggest challenge when you're implementing it?
So I think the biggest challenge with Apache Beam is to really understand that new programming model with like the semantics of differentiating between event time and processing time. So this is like one of the core. There are many really nice things about Apache Beam, but that's one of the core differentiators to other libraries that are out there. And so if you talk about processing versus event time, is processing time means when an event reaches your pipeline and it's ready for processing. But that can be way later than when the actual event happened. So we differentiate these two times in a way that like when an event happened versus when an event is processed. And that way we can calculate correct results even though we do stream processing.